Welcome to the Pinning Combination Podcast. I'm KJ Pilcher alongside Dick Briggs, bringing you some of the results from last weekend in high school and college wrestling, and then kind of a look ahead of what's to come here for some of the programs in the area. Coach Briggs, you hit it right on the head before we started. Big weekend for college wrestling here this last Saturday and Sunday.
And a lot going on for sure. And also at the high school level, we'll get to that later, but obviously Iowa State meet's always big. So, and this year proved to be big in a lot of ways. So,
yeah, let's just jump right in with the Iowa State duel on Sunday at Hilton Coliseum. The 85th matchup between Iowa and Iowa State. And, sometimes these duels have been anticlimactic a little bit. This one was energetic and maybe chaotic at times. Even afterwards, but I guess the heat kind of returned to the rivalry a little bit on Sunday.
Yeah, there was some highlights for Iowa, some highlights for Iowa State on the mat, and maybe, I don't want to call them lowlights or anything, but some oddities, I think is what I would like to say, off the mat and even on the mat too. So I guess we can start with highlights. For me, if I were looking at Iowa highlights, some of the things that really stuck out for me, I thought Ironman's match 15-7 over Reading, so we got a bonus win there. Max Murin back on the mat, and Russell, and actually Ian Parker back on the mat too. So both guys there wrestled tough 3-2. So that was a nice win for Murin. Parker obviously kept it close, but he's going to keep everything close. He's that good. Marinelli beat Stotts. That was another highlight. That was a major, and maybe should have been more. I don't know. I don't know what they were expecting, but I don't know if you can ever count on a tech fall or a fall. That's certainly a highlight. Cassiope with the DQ, which in itself was an oddity, but the 6 points was a highlight for Iowa. And Brands taking the mat again. Not sure what's going on there, but in a 3-1 sudden victory win there, certainly a highlight for Iowa. How about you? Have any highlights there?
Yeah, one of the things that kind of stands out as well for Iowa is, you've had this question mark around the lineup, and this is the first time we saw Kemmerer actually join in introductions. He weighed in, and he was there, even though Brands wrestled at 74 and got the win over Joel Devine. Warner weighed in and actually wrestled, and we'll talk about that as far as the Iowa State highlights, actually. I really liked Murin. I wasn't sure what he really was going to look like, especially against a quality opponent in Parker, just because he hadn't wrestled. And to be honest, and this is a failure on my part, following the team, didn't really know why. Don't know if it's injury or just one of those things where they're trying to rest him or whatever. But he stepped in, got a big takedown early, and that was enough. Showed some really good hips, strong hips in that match. Wanted to finish his takedown, driving through Parker in the first, and then Parker got in on a couple nice shots, and Murin was able to fend him off. So I think Murin was a big plus. Ironman and Marinelli, I thought both wrestled really well. 174, thought there could have been a little more offense there, but Brands, really actually being close to giving up a takedown and having to fend off Devine in overtime, and then a nice reattack for a takedown. That was pretty impressive and a highlight there for him as well. And then Cassiope, that's one of the things we can get into here in a second. One of the stall calls throughout the duel were a little head scratching. I think this was one thing where they were really, really quick on Ding and Schuler. Not sure it really would have changed much. I don't think Cassiope was ever in doubt of losing the match or anything like that. You never know. I mean, you saw what happened against Princeton, right? But before we get into that stuff, let's shift gears to Iowa State, and I'll pick out one, and then let you kind of share your opinion. One, I was really impressed with Kyson Terrakina. I've kind of been on his bandwagon here early on, seeing results at open tournaments, but I thought he looked really, really, really good against Ibarra. I know it's a big difference between Ibarra and, maybe some other ranked wrestlers, especially Spencer Lee, but I thought Terrakina looked good, getting 3 takedowns and getting riding time there as well. And I think, he's really shown a lot of progress for Iowa State.
Right. And I got to see him last year a few times, and then one in person when they wrestled at Wartburg, which was kind of interesting because, his brother's the 41-pounder at Wartburg right now. So anyway, and both out of Hawaii. So we got some Hawaiian connections this year in the state wrestling wise. But anyway, I agree. And he's looked very good. But I don't know. I guess I don't know where Ibarra is. I haven't seen enough of him to know where he's at, as a barometer for this win. So certainly an 8-2 win over Ibarra was impressive. Absolutely.
It probably is going to go without saying. The other performance that really stands out for Iowa State, sure, David Carr took care of business at 57 with a win over Caleb Young. Marcus Coleman won as well at 184. Second time he's beaten Miles Wilson in the Cyhawk series. This time 4-1, 184, but 197. I think that was something that Jacob Warner came out for Iowa in that duel, and I'm sure a lot of people thought maybe, Warner's coming out, this is a win, but Younger Bastida, 2 takedowns, one in the third, one in the first, and then one in the third to come away with a 4-3 victory. And that is a big win for him there against the quality opponent.
Right. And I'm going to follow up with you. Carr, very impressive as usual. Coleman, nice win over, I think, a tough Miles Wilson. So, and I think they've wrestled through high school and college. So more than once, that's for sure. And then with Younger over Warner, that was impressive. And those takedowns he's so solid on his feet. And, I had said in our last podcast that one of his maybe deficiencies was the ability to finish the match. Maybe not, the conditioning wasn't there, at least early on last year and towards the middle, and I didn't get to see him towards the end, but I don't know, in this meet, if he was tired, certainly the crowd lifted him up and helped propel him through. So he didn't appear tired, didn't even show that. So, but you never know, that might be the crowd. You just, if you get on an even playing field, how that might have finished out there. But certainly those takedowns were impressive. Yeah, he's so good on his feet. And a lot of people will be questioning, maybe, he took neutral third period, and some will be questioning why didn't he go down? Well, he hasn't wrestled on the mat. That's another, it's not to say he couldn't score from underneath there, but as long as you have the match in hand and you don't need to, and you'd rather win it on your feet where your strength is than maybe lose it getting ridden out or whatever. So,
yeah. Afterwards, Kevin Dresser kind of addressed that a little bit. Bastida has only been in Ames for a little over a year now. When he came to Ames from Cuba, he didn't speak any English and had only wrestled freestyle. didn't really know the folk style rules or anything. So that's something that they've really had to focus on. And one of the things, when I was at Buena Vista, they had a Montclair State out in New Jersey had an individual named Florian Guinea, and I think he was from Bulgaria, and he had never wrestled folk style before. So it was interesting to see when we were down in Florida for duels that they literally had to kind of teach them during matches about locking hands on top and kind of returning wrestlers and stuff like that. He ended up being like a 2-time national champ for Montclair State because he finally kind of got the knack of, mat wrestling a little bit more. And he was so talented on his feet and could throw from that freestyle and Greco background. I think Bastida is kind of in the same boat. And Dresser has talked about how he's progressed on, figuring out kind of a different attack on his feet, how to mat wrestle, and kind of that strategy coming into the third where he took neutral, even though it was, a 2-2 match. But they certainly played to his strengths, and he's come along very, very well over the last year, kind of adapting to folk style. And I think this was a good example of that work.
Right. And you bring up a good point. He's only been in the country for a year, didn't speak English. So not only has he had trouble learning, mat wrestling, but the communication barrier is there. So he's had less than a year to really work on that. So, and also bringing up an old wrestler reminded me that Iowa State back when I was wrestling, or just after it was when I was wrestling, had a Cuban refugee by the name of Frank Santana.
Oh,
that was just a horse, an animal, not, so that's interesting. You brought that up. It reminded me that they had another back then. What was the weight? 190, I think, was the weight class, and he was right in there, I believe, at 190. So anyway. So
yeah, and of course, can't forget the excitement afterwards. He was pretty pumped, ignited the crowd a little bit. I think his headgear went probably about 15 feet in the air. That was a pretty good spike in itself. Kevin Dresser said, that we've talked to him about a lot of the rules, and I'm pretty sure we've talked to him about the headgear spike, but we'll address it again this week. And he said, I guarantee you that didn't have anything to do to upstage anybody. It was just excitement that poured out at the moment.
I was actually surprised how high that sucker was.
Right.
Gonna come up and hit him in the face, he'd have regretted that. But
now, so Iowa came away with 22-11 victory here, 17th in a row against Iowa State. I think Iowa improved to 16-0 under Brands against the Cyclones. Now let's talk about some of the oddities. And
right.
one, it was a weird situation. We'll start at 133 with the dual stall calls, something you don't normally see. If you do, it's probably in a heavyweight match. But Austin DeSanto and Ramazan, I think they got hit for double stalling twice. That's something you don't see. Apparently it had something to do with, the interlocking of fingers and, slowing action down that way. But it just seemed like a really, really odd call.
I can speak for high school. I can't speak for college. It is legal to do a double stalling. You rarely see it. If they're both stalling, typically what a referee will and should do is warn one wrestler, and then if nothing happens, about 20 seconds later, right in that vicinity, ding the second wrestler. Now you've got your double stalling, but you've given one wrestler an opportunity to improve, to step up the game, and so you don't, it's rare to see a double stalling like that. Sure.
One of the other ones that kind of came up too, at 149, Max Murin hit for stalling like within like 15 or 20 second period late in the third period. He was up, I think 3-1 at the time. And then I think he got hit with 25 seconds to go, and then again with 8 seconds to go. Usually you have to be doing something pretty egregious to get hit that close together.
Right. And it's always bothered me that why do the rules change in the last 45 to 30 seconds of the match?
Mm-hmm.
If they're not going to call that like they would at the beginning of the match. To me, it should be the same. Just because that person is ahead, all of a sudden he becomes on. And sometimes, in some cases, that's the truth. They are flat out on. And in some instances in national championship matches, we've seen guys turn around and run the other way.
Yeah. I know. I don't think it's near as. I don't think it was something that needed to be called, even though you could have a point. Bastida a little bit in the final minute when he was up 4-3, but he got in on a couple shots as well and showed action. The one that I thought was, I don't know. You see it sometimes with heavyweights. You used to see it with Stoll a lot just because people didn't want to engage him, and they would back off the mat a lot because of his Greco ability. And once he got locked up, there was only really one way to kind of go. So he had a few DQs because of stalling, but I thought they were really trigger happy on the stalls in the heavyweight match. That had that come to an end.
And this shouldn't come into play. If they're stalling, and if they're not, the meet shouldn't end. People didn't come to see a stalling call end a meet or anywhere in a meet. So not that should prevent it from happening, but I agree with you, KJ. I'm a little quick on that. And
I know there have been referees that may have been, very strict and really forced action and called stalling a lot. One that comes to mind is Mike Allen. But I know I had Mike Allen for a referee a couple matches, and he was always somebody that would say, "Hey, you need to do something here. I'm gonna get you. Do something." And so it wasn't that he was triggered. He was letting you know, "Hey, you need to get active, or you're gonna get it." I didn't see that at heavyweight. I just thought it was straight bang, bang, bang for the stall calls. But
yeah, that's the case. As a coach, I always knew that every official called stalling different. So you have to kind of watch and see. You're right. Mike Allen, X-Line from Charles City. It was another one that was real fast. And generally an official will say action or improve or center, something that's going to tell you that they're going to give these key signs. And we actually speak of that before the meet starts. If you hear that, something's coming, so you need to improve or whatever, and kind of obey whatever the ref's saying. So. Yep. So at least it's that they're fast callers, and so you need to be wrestling, and I appreciated that. So, I guess I didn't include the 33-pound match as a highlight for Iowa, even though they won it, because it's almost. I think they're almost expecting a major or better at that weight class. So on the scoreboard, it's almost a little bit of a victory for ISU. To keep it 6-4, and
I agree with you.
Yep.
I think on paper it was one that looked like possible bonus points or maybe expected bonus points, and Ramazan kept it close. And that's where we can touch on maybe some of the extracurricular activities that got a lot of attention about this meet. Very got heated. I think things really started that way at 133. There was a moment there where DeSanto got a takedown, the only takedown of the match, and then instead of trying to return Ramazan, he was walking off the mat. DeSanto picked him up and then carried him, up to the scorer's table, which Ramazan didn't appreciate too much, and then threw an elbow and hit him in the back of the head. And that's really when, probably the fuse was lit a little bit.
The spark ignited.
Yeah. There was, at the end of the match, they came back to the center and DeSanto kind of wagged his finger at Ramazan. Ramazan stood up and stepped towards him, and then the official, kind of stepped in between. But at that time, the line in the sand was kind of drawn between both teams from there on out.
And both fan bases.
Yeah. Yep. And then, what was your take about the situation there at the end? A little bit of a scrum. Looking back at the video, it's a good thing. No, it could have been a heck of a lot worse. Luckily, people got in the middle. There are no fists or anything like that. Only a little mild shoving and a lot of jawing, I think. But what did you take away from that ordeal if you had a chance to see it?
I didn't, but the clip that I saw didn't really show enough. It sounded like Iowa coaches might have not wanted to shake hands with Iowa State coaches, and maybe that's a mutual thing. I don't know, but some of the assistant coaches didn't appreciate that and from Iowa State and started a little bit of a retaliation, either vocally or I think that's all it was. And then there was a lot of vocal things going on. So, I've always said this, not that it should be eliminated, but they sure do shake hands a lot in wrestling. At the beginning of the duel, beginning of the match, after the match, and then again after the duel. So, it's not like we don't shake hands, but, maybe. And I'm, at the high school level, I was never a fan of the wrestler from the other school coming over to shake hands with you, because a lot of them were very insincere. And, I'd come over and I'd shake hands with them, but they were just insincere. I don't know what they were doing, but they weren't wishing me good luck or thank you or anything like that. They were a lot of times kind of in your face sort of thing. So I'm glad that the state eliminated that. Maybe this needs to happen too. We see it at high school level in basketball and such. So I don't know. It's sad that it's come to that, but I'm disappointed, I guess.
This is a hill I'm willing to die on here. I've always thought post-event handshakes were stupid. I didn't see the point of it. I got a lot of pushback from people saying, well, learning to win well and lose well is a big part. It's beyond sports. It's the sportsmanship part. And I don't see, you're already shaking hands beforehand, and a lot of times, it's multiple times. You get introduced, you run out to the center of the mat, you shake hands. You're one of the captains, you're coming in the middle for the coin toss, you're shaking hands again. Before the match, you're shaking hands. After the match is over, you shake hands. And then the post-duel thing is just not necessary. You have plenty of opportunities to make that sportsmanlike gesture beforehand and leave it at that. And here's another thing. A lot of people were saying, you know, it teaches you how to respond to adversity, and, it teaches life lessons and stuff like that. And saying from somebody that lost quite a bit, there's more ways than going over and shaking the hand of somebody that just whipped your ass, to show how you respond to that. There's going back the next morning and running and starting to work. There's being coachable and trying to fix the things that you did. There's the resilience of facing that person again, because more than likely you're going to. There's a lot of things that you can answer that teaches life lessons beyond a handshake after a match. I mean, and a lot of people were pretty vile about, some Yahoo in Pennsylvania told me to go kick rocks when I tried to explain that to them. And it's like, man, if that's how you're teaching a life lesson through wrestling, you're probably doing the rest of the other stuff wrong. But I just, and it's not just now. I mean, we've seen the Carlisle and East Union incidents in basketball. There's I can remember an incident between Prairie and Washington that pretty much, kind of started the ball rolling, and a Washington football coach being removed. It's not something that's just popped up. This is stuff I even remember, stuff that happened in the 5 seasons duels back in 92, 93 down at the U.S. Cellular Center. A little, handshake line, not a dust up really, but a lot of jawing and words back and forth. And, it's a long going thing. It's just something that, it's just not necessary. It's just never been necessary as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, it's a show of sportsmanship. You're right, and I think it's one that can be done away with. I mean, when you think about how many times you shake hands, and I always wanted to sit up in a volleyball meet and watch and see how many times the girls did high fives, and it's the same with Russell, not quite to that extent, but
yeah.
with shaking hands. So,
and I'll give a good example. With the COVID protocols and stuff, one of the things in softball that they had in place, they eliminated the handshake line for softball. The teams just were by their dugouts and kind of waved and yelled "good game," and that was it.
Yep. Same in volleyball too. Yep, still doing that. As a matter of fact, in volleyball, they don't even change sides anymore. They're always on one side, so they're not going back and forth. So with the protocol, so kind of done away with some rules. But here's something. I'm going to change directions a little bit. What did you think about the Iowa State robe and singlets? The old new.
I liked them. I really did. Yeah. And David Carr actually mentioned that as well, that it was kind of neat to bring in the robes, and noted that his dad wore them, so it was kind of cool and special to do that. And I've always loved the red singlet with the block eye on the front. That's the singlet that I grew up with watching, and I like that. And I like the fact, obviously it's not the old polyester singlets. It's got, the good look to it, but it's the red with the gold eye on the front, and I like that a lot.
I agree. And I mean, it's old, new old school. There we go. New old school. And it's not the old fabric or whatever, but it looks great. And I never understood why they brought in navy blue into some of their singlets. And so,
yeah,
I mean, it's easy to spot that Iowa State singlet that represents a whole long history and tradition. And so I'm glad to see it back. The robes, I was never a robe guy, but if you're an Iowa State guy, you're a robe guy back in the day. So,
right.
I think they look nice, but it's never one for me. I never really wanted to wear them unless I was probably at Iowa State. I would probably relish wearing it. So,
yeah, like you said, I like seeing them with it. I wouldn't be. I'd look like I just got out of bed instead of getting ready for a match. So, but no, I liked it a lot. And one thing I've got to say too, about Sunday's duel, 9,272 was the announced attendance. I'm not sure if it was actually that much, but it probably was pretty close as far as the number of butts in seats. But it was a really lively crowd. And there have been times at Hilton, you know, it resembled more of a chess match than anything, or maybe a tennis match, as far as, you know, being quiet. But this was a lively crowd. And I think there is, you know, there was their fair share of Iowa fans there as well. So it wasn't like totally Iowa State, but I think there's a good contingent of Iowa State fans there that were lively and rowdy and, you know, in a good way. And,
right.
You know, I think the atmosphere was really fun because Iowa State drew a pretty good crowd.
Right. And then they gave something for the crowd to cheer about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that chess match that you're talking about might have had a good crowd, but not much to cheer about if they're getting whooped, you know, which they have. You know, was it 2 years ago? Not it was a real close meet, but most of them have been kind of runaways. So
yeah, yep. And I just lost track of what I was gonna say. Oh, the thing that kind of gets forgotten about a little bit, just because you look at the final score, 20-11, but Iowa State was in that duel going into heavyweight. Because of Bastida's win, they still had a puncher's chance there. And not to keep harping on a previous duel, but you saw what happened with Princeton. You never know.
Right.
And so Iowa State was in it till the end.
And you always look back at meets like that, and, you know, they were really a sudden victory, takedown away from in a 1-point loss at 49, you know, so they're right in that meet. So anyway,
that's right.
Good. But down in Missouri, had some action down there.
Yeah, Missouri played host to UNI and Virginia Tech. UNI's first dual competitions of the season. They've been wrestling open tournaments here early on, and there are some highlights, but you know, I think you and I got a good measuring stick of where they are and what work they need to do.
Right. It's a 3 top 20 teams. So Missouri's ranked 3rd. Again, it depends on what poll you use. But Missouri's up high in all the polls. So ranked 3rd, Virginia Tech 10th, and UNI 17th going into this. And personally, I think UNI wrestled very well in both meets. I know the score was 25-16 against Missouri, the number 3 ranked team, and then 39-3. That doesn't sound like they wrestled very well against Virginia Tech. However, against Virginia Tech, they had let's see, they lost a sudden victory. They had 2 sudden victories and 3 1-point matches.
Wow.
In that meet. And now they did get pinned 4 times, but they got pinned by ranking wrestlers at Virginia Tech, including the defending national champ in one match. But you know, so, you know, Coach Bob can't be happy about that. But the other 6, you know, my gosh, they're right in that. So swing any of those around, that, you know, scores a little different. And then in the Missouri meet, they pulled off 2 upsets, beat some ranked wrestlers. Biscaglia at 33 and Schoenfelder at 74. So they beat the 27th ranked kid and the 9th ranked kid, Schoenfelder did. So
yeah, and don't forget about Kill Happel.
Oh yeah,
at 141. The 4-timer from Lisbon knocked off number 12 Alan Hart.
Forgot about that.
9-6, and if I remember right, I think he was down 5-2 to start the second period. So he outscored him 7-1 in the final 2 periods there. So a good show. That was Kill Happel's first dual appearance for UNI. You know, so a big win there. I know fell in the Virginia Tech duel, but a heck of a win there, and nice debut for Cale Happ.
Right, man. I'm excited to see him improve. I think he could be a decent college wrestler for sure. So.
Yep. Yeah, and he just had that one of those 1 point losses that you mentioned in Virginia Tech. You know, kind of one of the things too. It was good to see Brody Teske kind of bounce back. You know, he suffered a recent upset to the backup at Iowa State, Kabam Bam. But he comes back and beats two ranked wrestlers on Saturday. Got a pin over number 18, Noah Certain, and then beat an All-American in Sam Watona from Virginia Tech. So the only one to go 2-0, but that's a good weekend for Teske.
Absolutely, and that's good. You're right. Good to see that for sure. So a lot of highlights, in my opinion, and you know, that Missouri team, we got to watch them last year. They were young, had those freshmen in there, and the brothers, the Elams, and they're a solid team. So you and I wouldn't be surprised to see Missouri drop in the rankings, not because they you know, sometimes that happens when you wrestle a team that's not a highly ranked team and they wrestle close. The other team drops when I don't know if that's necessarily the case of what should happen, but you and I may have made them drop in the rankings. We'll see.
And one other thing to note, and I'm not exactly sure why Parker Keckeisen did not wrestle this last weekend. DeJuan Johnson did in his place, and that's another area where, you know, there's probably a pretty significant turnaround in both of those duels at that weight. At least a 9-point, 10-point swing in both of those duels with Keckeisen in there. So, yeah, it's UNI will have its UNI Open this weekend, so we'll see who wrestles there, and of course they've got the Rockfin duels kind of waiting here in about 10 days or whatever. But.
So I finally found the UNI Open. It was finally posted on track, and the teams that are listed are Illinois, Iowa State, and it is on Iowa State's schedule. So I guess they would probably bring in their varsity. Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, North Dakota State, of course UNI, Purdue, South Dakota State, and Wisconsin. I don't know how many of those will be bringing their varsity, but we'll see on that one.
Yeah, we'll see. Sure, a lot of good matches up there on Saturday. One of the other performances that want to touch on here, you know, we talked about it last week, Cole heading up to Wisconsin Lacrosse, and I tell you what, they came away with two impressive dual wins over North Central and Wisconsin Lacrosse. North Central, I believe, was ranked 2, Lacrosse 6, right behind Co, with 3 top 10 teams. I believe they were voted D3 Wrestling Team of the Week for their performance there as well.
Right, and very deserving. I mean, that was nice to have those 3 teams up there and good quality wrestling. I actually watched some of it, quite a bit of it actually, and there's some great wrestling. 4 of the wrestlers went 2-0. Friddle at 25, Westfall at 74, Schott at 84, and then Reeves, who is another one you don't want to tie up with, at 285.
Yeah. I think if I have my calculations right, he's like 11-0 with 10 pins and a major decision. I think his pin major in one of the 2 duels was the only one that he hasn't ended by fall so far this year.
Oh, wow. It's not surprising, but boy, is that impressive.
Yeah.
He likes to throw, and he's good. I don't know where he learns that. What coach might show him that? But
Right? Yeah, they don't have anybody in the room that's been versed in Greco at the heavyweight classes there.
Yep. Good wrestling. And a couple other notes. Bryce Park from Lindmark. I watched both his matches, and he looks tough, man. He's a aggressive, coming at you sort of guy, and he ended up beating number 10 Sawyer Saarbacher from Lacrosse. So nice win there for him.
For sure.
His other match was against number 1 ranked kid from North Central, and he wrestled pretty close with him. So, but that North Central kid's very good.
Pretty good. So yeah, a really good performance. They're 3-0 right now. They've got Buena Vista coming in this week. So they have a chance to. I think this is their last duel before the Desert Duels out in Vegas. So Buena Vista, we're recording this on a Wednesday, so Buena Vista tonight, and then a little time off till Vegas here in the middle of the month. So any other performances or anything that stands out to you?
Yes, actually quite a few. So if you look at the MSOE, the Milwaukee School of Engineering, I believe, Invitational, Cornell was up there. Cornell took 3rd out of 17 teams, so they had a nice weekend. Wow. They had 7 place winners, and they had 2 runners up. Paragon at 157 and 100 at 184. So it's good to see the Rams on the way up and doing well there, because they've struggled a little bit. Also at that tournament, a couple of wrestlers of note. Brock Beck, who is from Central, former Grinnell wrestler, was the champ at 141. And then Cedar Rapids Kennedy's Ben Saracen was the champ, and he defeated Solomon Nielsen, who was the NWCA runner-up from Augsburg that Kyle wrestled in the finals. Oh, okay. He beat him 6-5. So the 2 kind of local high school or area high school guys walk out as champions. And also in that tournament, Central was 4th, Central College.
Oh, so Cornell finished ahead of Central.
Yep, they sure did. 3rd and 4th out of 17. So, and then in Ohio Northern, University of Dubuque went out there, took 5th out of 16 teams. They had 7 place winners, 2 champs, Cade Hornback at 125 and Zarek Anderson at 157. So again, there's UD doing a nice job up there as well. So Warburg had a duel, I think it was 40-3 or 43-3 against Luther, and that was their only competition. So, anyway, so yeah, so definitely some notes there. Upper Iowa had a duel with Augustana, number 22 Augustana, and Upper Iowa ranked 9th. Did not fare well for them. That's a Northern Sun Conference. That was our first meet in that. They lost 29-9.
Ouch.
Yeah.
20. Come off some pretty good early season tournament performances.
Right. It's good to see the ARC doing well there. And I'm sorry, I forgot one of our highlights was the Loris Augsburg meet that we talked about last week. And Loris did very well. It was 5-5 in matches in terms of each team winning 5, but Loris came away with 2 pins, 2 majors, and that was the difference. It was a 23-17 win for Loris. So big win there.
I think Shane Weigel was conference wrestler of the week again.
Right. He might have even been athlete of the week, which would include all of it. I'm not sure on that. I thought that's what he was, but maybe just wrestler. So, which isn't just wrestler. That's impressive. So
right.
Let's see. Something I kind of went through. We talked about it last week, or I was talking with maybe someone at meet when I was roughing. Was I just wanted to bring up the inequity of the regional distribution in Division III. So there's 6 regions, and there's 100 qualifiers. So I'll even go back a little bit further. Division I has 33 qualifiers for the national tournament. Division II has 18. Division III has 18. Now, if you look at it, Division I has 79 schools, D2 has 64 schools, and D3 has 118 schools. And only 18 wrestlers get to 18 wrestlers, so 180 wrestlers throughout the whole tournament. So they need to either bump up and allow more qualifiers or redistribute the regionals. Because here's some interesting, based on the rankings that list them by the regional, the Mid-East and the Southeast have 9 ranked wrestlers in the entire region. So of the 100 wrestlers that would qualify, if the ranked wrestlers would wrestle, only 9 would be Mid-East. And so that means that all the rest would be non-ranked wrestlers. The Northeast has 10, Central has 16, the Upper Midwest has 21, and the Lower Midwest has 35. So of the 100 wrestlers slots that wrestlers can be, 35 ranked wrestlers are in our Lower Midwest. So six of the weights have 4 wrestlers ranked, which means 6 ranked wrestlers will not qualify or more if someone upsets them. So anyway, I was just running through that, and very much an inequity.
Yeah, I've never liked the assured, the 1 through 3 qualify from each region. I always preferred the average All-Americans per region to determine, the number of qualifiers. I think it used to be a 3-year average of All-Americans would determine, how many qualifiers you get. I think the results are a perfect example why. You had Dubuque going out to Ohio Northern and having 2 champs. You had Cornell going up to Milwaukee School of Engineering and coming away with champs. You had Loris beating Augsburg in a duel. I mean, those results, right? Co beating Wisconsin Lacrosse and North Central, even though I think North Central's in that regional too with them. But it just goes to show that the talent here, as you pointed out with the number of ranked guys, it just seems like common sense that you should divvy up the allotments. I know there are headaches with trying to figure out who got wild cards and stuff like that when they did have those things, but I think it's a better system than just the 1 through 3. And D2, is it 1 through 4 or is it 1 through 3?
1, 2, 3, I believe. Yeah, it's But if they would just bump up the number of qualifiers, now you solved a lot of that.
Sure.
18. It's not even 16 is a bracket. Now you have 2 lead-in matches or wrestling matches or pigtails, whatever you want to call them. And so it's just let more schools and more kids wrestle. You have 118 schools in that division and growing.
Yep.
It's the biggest growing group right now is Division III. So other than, of course, the women. So,
yeah, right. Which I think we were able to mention it last week that Cornell started up there, or going to start a women's program too. So,
which makes 111 women's programs now. I saw.
Yep. So, and it's only going to grow. It's only going to grow from there. So it'll be fun to see who's next as far as that goes. And any other parting shots for college? I know. Some Iowa State, you and I will be competing this weekend. Iowa is off until the Rockfin Duels down in Florida, December 19th, 20th, or 20th, 21st. So we have a little bit of a break after this weekend.
Right. So in D3 and D2 this week, you mentioned BV is at Co tonight at 7. Friday, Luther is as Wisconsin Stevens Point. They are there. Cornell's at Loras at 7. Saturday, the duels at Dubuque, which include UD, Cornell, Wabash, and those are the teams of interest. And they each wrestle 4 duels. And then Wartburg hosts Olivet, number 24 Olivet, and Platteville. And then Upper Iowa has Central Missouri at 2. So that's this weekend.
And Platteville with new head coach Trevor Kittleson.
Right.
So it'd be interesting to see how the Pioneers do this year under him.
I've been kind of keeping an eye on them, and they're not doing too bad. They've done a nice job, and they were up in the Augie Open in Augsburg, and did a nice job up there. And so, yeah, he's already making an impact.
So, all right, I look forward to following them along here as well. You want to transition to high school here with the big week that they've had here to start out?
Which direction do you want to go? Geez.
well, let's start with the duel that we got to watch last Thursday. What a humdinger for opener that we had there at Manchester between Class 2A number 1 West Delaware and 3A number 1 Waverly Shell Rock, which I think has climbed to 11th nationally in the national team rankings. So that was one Waverly Shell Rock won. I think it was 49-21.
Right. And it's a kind of tale of 2 teams. Last year they traded. West Delaware won and had a lot of seniors, and that was when they graduated. Now it's Waverly Shell Rock's turn to take over with a lot of seniors. So they returned the favor that was afforded them last year. I think I mentioned in the broadcast that in 42 duels, the 2 teams combined are 40-2, and their 2 losses are against each other.
Oh, so, wow.
Which is impressive and kind of interesting, but 2 really great programs there. We saw some high quality wrestling. I mean, every match was contested and great technique and just some great battles. And even when there wasn't scoring going on, it wasn't pushing and shoving and getting to know each other. It was some good action. And
the one that stands out when you mention that, the one that stands out was 132 with Blake Engel and Carter Feck. That was 1-1 after 3 periods, but it didn't seem like it was 1-1 just because of all the action and flurries and scrambles that we saw. Feck ended up winning in overtime by a pin, but that was indicative of the duel where there was a lot of action throughout. It made it a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to call.
Right. Absolutely. That was a blast up there. When you're having fun matches like that, that's entertaining for the crowd and for anyone that happens to be watching, and certainly for you and me.
Yep. And of course, both of them went on to have a lot of success on their first weekend. You want to start with the Donnybrook, or do you want to start with Cliff Keene?
Let's go with Donnybrook since we're talking about Waverly Shell Rock.
Yep. So Waverly Shell Rock, actually part of their team, if not everybody, went right from Manchester to their hotel in Coralville to get ready for the Dan Gable Donnybrook that was held at the Extreme Arena on Friday and Saturday. 33 teams there. Kind of a split between Iowa teams and teams from bordering states, the neighboring states. Waverly Shell Rock ended up second behind Liberty, Missouri. With the GoHawks had, I think, 5 finalists and scored 372 points. So a lot of nationally ranked wrestlers there, and they came away second.
Well, I had Block as a champ and Riggins as a champ. Is that what you had?
Yep. Block won at 138. Riggins at 160.
I must be missing a runner-up because I had McCray at 95 as a runner-up and Walker at 285.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and Lane McDonald actually got third, not second.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because Luke. Yeah. So it was Lane McDonald that got third, not second there. So yeah, four finalists, and then McDonald was third.
Obviously, it's an individual tournament, and they wrestle pretty much the 24th place, I think, and maybe beyond. I don't know if there's matches beyond that or not, but so, it's, you don't come in from out of state and get 202 barbecue and be done. You're going to get your matches in, and the further you go, the closer you get to your level of competition. And so that makes it a nice tournament to bring people in. On the other hand, if it's such a tough one, you might go 0-5 or whatever. So it could be
some of the other champions of note, Trevor Anderson of Ankeny won at 126, but two local wrestlers won titles. Hunter Garvin for Iowa City West won at 152. Ben Keeter, City High, won at 220. Had a match against another nationally ranked foe in Gavin Nelson of Simley. Keeter with a takedown and sudden victory overtime to win 3-1. So impressive performances there by Garvin and Keeter.
Yeah, I got to talk to Corey Connell, the Iowa City High coach, on Sunday. He was at a youth tournament I was roughing, and just briefly, because in between matches, but I congratulated him. He was pretty excited, and he could say nothing but good things about Ben Keeter. And I mean, obviously we know what kind of an athlete he is, but it's great to hear that he's a good solid person too. So we wish the best for him and those kind of guys. And we know the Garvin family; they're great kids as well. So great family. So good to see both of those guys come out on top.
Yep. One of the team results I was kind of surprised about a little bit. Bendorf got 6.
With no finalists.
What was that?
With no finalists.
Really? Yeah. So that was something that surprised me. Not a surprise, but Linmar, did pretty well. They finished 12th overall. Kate Nakamura was a runner-up at 170. Luke Gaffney was 3rd at heavyweight. And if I read their tweet right, they posted something today saying that they had the second most amount of pins of all the teams in that field. So that's a pretty good feather to stick in your cap,
right?
After a competition like that.
Am I correct? Was Kane Noctemorn also 3rd? So the Noctemorn family had a great weekend. So, and I
might have been.
I think Tate was lost in sudden victory, if I remember right.
Okay.
It was an eyelash away from winning it. Yeah.
So a good performance there. City High was 16th, or City West was 16th. City High 24th, North Scott 15th, Ankeny 11th. But a heck of a tournament, and I know some really good performances from the local guys there. Probably that's
the inaugural tournament that was held. As I understand, speaking with an official, they did one round part of a round in the Green State Family Fieldhouse there, and then the rest of it was held in the Extreme Arena. So I think they had 10 mats in the arena. So we got plenty of room to spread out there.
For sure. Well, let's switch gears to the Cliff Keen. That's another 2-day event there this opening weekend. Just about 30 teams. Lisbon comes away with the team title, scored 362.5 points. Independence was second, 346. Both of those teams highly ranked, Lisbon in 1A, Independence in 2A. It was kind of fun. They were alternating leads for the early part of Saturday. So it was kind of a back and forth team race, which was always fun. Both put 3 in the finals, but Lisbon comes away with a team championship. And interestingly, Osage led the tournament with 3 champs, and they finished 3rd quite a bit, about 56 points behind Indy.
Right, and that's why I think Osage can be a real title contender possibly, or at least certainly second. I don't know. We'll see what happens with West Delaware, but so they're a threat with those. They're pretty strong with their individuals there. So, and
Yeah,
those three champs demonstrate that.
I think that's what they did a couple of years ago. I don't think they had, the depth, but they had the quality. A lot of guys that finished in the top 3 or 4 that allowed them to win a title for Brett Jennings, and might be the same type of thing. Lisbon did have one champ, Brandon Paez at 120, a 2-time state finalist. He was a state champ as a freshman, runner-up last year. Brad Smith said that this is high praise from somebody that's had some really darn good wrestlers, said he might be the best technician he's ever coached.
What?
Yeah.
Holy moly.
That's
saying a ton.
That's something that really kind of raised my eyebrows, considering the talent that he's had come to that room, and even at City High as well. But he said Paez is one of the best technicians he's ever coached. So
wow, you just think of Jeff McGinnis to start with. That's some pretty good quality there. So what a great compliment.
Yeah, and he was pretty dominant. I think he won bonus points, bonus in each match. Had a 52-second pin at 120 in the 120 finals. Another one that was pretty impressive, really kind of stood out. Logan Art from South Tama knocked off Cade Sebrecht, who was ranked number 1 in 1A at 138 or 145. Sorry, or no, 138. He's a 2-time state medalist. Sebrecht, coming off a state title last year. It was another one of those matches that it was 1-1 after regulation, but a lot of action. And then he was able to counter for a takedown and sudden victory. So a big win for him in South Tama here early on.
Yeah, I don't remember what the league is that South Tama's in, but certainly he qualifies for Wrestler of the week for that one for sure. What a nice win there. Yeah. A couple other champs. Prairie had a local team. Obviously had a champ at 106 with Blake Jaimo. Yeah.
Yep. He looked really strong. Had a 15-0 back over Ryan Hofer of Xavier in the finals. Talked to Jaimo afterwards. He sounds like last year's state runner-up finish did not settle well with him. He's an individual that, it's one of those things where, yeah, it was good, but that's not what I wasn't wrestling to get second, essentially. Sounded like the off season, he spent 6 to 7 days a week practicing, working out, just had his sights set on getting better for this year. And I tell you what, you could see the hard work has paid dividends early on already. He looked really tough. That's
nice to hear that he has that attitude. I know he's a Fargo qualifier as well. So, yeah, that's good to hear. And Prairie's a young team. So he's going to be the leader on that team for sure. So that's good that you have someone strong with that strong work ethic and attitude. So
and it'll be fun. We'll get to see him wrestle Thursday this week. Cedar Rapids Prairie will host Cedar Falls, which we'll call on KCRG 9.2 again. So you guys can tune into that as well. Some of the other individual champs, Gage Marty at heavyweight, I think pinned his way through the heavyweight bracket for Solon. Drake Collins for West Liberty with a fall in the finals at 170 to come away with a championship. The couple of other notes, you had a big battle. I think it was 160. Let me see here. Between CJ Walrath of West Burlington, Notre Dame, and Mickey Griffith of Des Moines, Lincoln. Those two battled in the finals. Walrath came away with, let's see, it was a 3-2 victory at 182. So two high quality kids there. Walrath with a real marquee victory over Griffith from Lincoln, who I think is a 2-time finalist and a champ 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah. That is impressive.
And then one of the things I want to touch on too, Alex Hutchcraft from Smithville, Missouri, won the 145-pound title, beat Isaiah Weber by fall in the finals. He was named the outstanding wrestler and received the award for most falls in the least amount of time. I think it was 6 in like 17 minutes and 32 seconds or something, close to that anyway. Those awards were in honor of Wyatt Schultz. It was kind of neat. They had a little tribute to Wyatt. You know, the awards weren't your normal, you know, plaques or anything. They gave them coffee mugs and tumblers to with you know, Wyatt's image on the side. Really cool. Had a little tribute before the finals to Wyatt, and a nice piece that Matt Shannon, an assistant coach at Independence and a colleague of Wyatt, good friend of Wyatt's as well, wrote up. And it was neat to see those awards. They also had an Underdog Award, which went to the wrestler that finished highest above their seed, which I think went to a Greene County heavyweight, Brock Heyman. You know, so
you remember off the top of your head how much above his seed he wrestled?
I had it written down. I think he was like 20th. Let me see if I can find that here. I had it written down.
While you're looking, I will say that the significance of the coffee mug is that Wyatt always would come in with the coffee in the morning, and then also it's really more of a Yeti. So I'm guessing there's some kids that don't drink coffee.
Right.
Use it for hot or cold. It's a very nice award, actually, and very useful.
Yeah. So Hammond started in the 29 range, and then ended up like 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was huge. Like I said, I believe it was Brock Heyman on that award. So
that's impressive.
Very much so. So Cliff Team tournament, really strong competition here. 370 wrestlers were entered in. They, by the time it was over, they held 1,456 matches over the 2-day event, and we were done by 5 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, that's a long 2 days. Now, do they? I know they put 2 mats on the stage in the auditorium. Beautiful auditorium, by the way. And then do they have 6? They have 6 mats on the. Yeah, so they have 8 total mats.
Yep. So yeah, it's been neat. That was, I think, 2 years ago. That was my first time kind of watching matches on an auditorium stage, and it was kind of a neat experience. Really, you know. So
yeah, and I don't remember who I talked with now, that there's supposed to be 30 teams there. At weigh-in, only 28 showed up. The other 2 didn't show up and didn't call, so they didn't know it was. It was kind of disappointing.
Well, I heard from the Independence coaches that 2 of them ended up with COVID, positive COVID tests, so they weren't able to show up. So I don't know if they found that out. It might have been after the fact that they probably tracked them down and said, "Hey, where are you guys?"
Yeah,
yeah, we're not able to make it, but
yeah, which you'd think he'd make a call if that was the case. But, well, we got 2 other directions to go. You want to go east or west from there?
Well, we can go up to West Delaware since we talked to them about them real quick. West Delaware held their Bob Murphy Invitational. Came away with 10 finalists and 5 champs. Carson Less at 120, Brent Yakovic at 145, Logan Payton at 160, Kyle Cole at 170, and then Wyatt Volker at 220. Volker with 2 first period pins, and then 22-7 Peck ball in the final. Benton Community had a champ in Jaden Moore. Beat Jax Miller in the finals at 126. Jax Miller, a freshman for West Delaware. But West Delaware got 118.5 points ahead of runner-up DeWitt Central.
Yeah, it's pretty much a runaway there, as we kind of expected. DeWitt Central, who was second, had 2 champs and I think 2 runners-up, maybe something like that. And then Dyke New Hartford, who was third, 2 champs and a runner-up, something like that. And then, but anyway, it was West Delaware, Yankovic, freshman, one of their solid freshmen, and then their other solid freshman, Jax Miller, finished as a runner-up. So, that's that youth movement still coming in. And then also it's good to see Logan Payton back in the lineup. We didn't get to see him on Thursday night. So we knew it was a minor injury, and so it's good to see him back. Was able to get back by the weekend. I just thought he might not be able to. So,
and then of course the tournament that's been probably the biggest staple this first weekend of the season, the Keith Young Invitational at Cedar Falls, and Don Bosco looked pretty darn good.
Yeah, been there a few times with teams. So both when I was back at Washington and at Jefferson, so many years ago, I've been going. Yeah, Don Bosco's won that more times than I think anyone that's been there, maybe.
Oh, really?
That's just a guess. Dowling has won a bunch, and Cedar Falls, we won a couple. And anyway, but this year, it was no question. Don Bosco way out in front. 5 champs, 2 runners up. Norwalk and Valley tied for second. Each of them had 2 champs. So, and like you said, not even close. So Don Bosco, Chris Ortner, interesting. Chris Ortner is the new coach at Don Bosco, but he was the old coach at Cedar Falls. So his first tournament as a Don Bosco coach was at Cedar Falls. So, and Chris is a great guy. He was the assistant coach at Wartburg when Kyle was recruited, and Kyle just loved him. So Chris, he's doing a great job. Good to see him having success there as well. Seems wherever he goes.
Yeah, among those 5 champs, you had the 10-olds, the 10-old twins at 92 and 95, both won. And then Jared Theory at 220. So that's a bang, bang, bang. That's a pretty good series there in the upper weights. Cedar Rapids Kennedy ended up getting 6th there. They had 6 medalists overall. So a decent showing, I would say.
4 of those 6 were 3rd place too. So good job to the Cougars.
Yep. Colin Falk at 145, Rashawn Jennings at 160, Alex Cook at 182, and then Colin Flanagan at 195, as you mentioned, all finished 3rd for the Cougars, and then they had 2 others that finished 5th place. But that was strong, 97 points in 6. One of the other ones that this was a team that coming into the season, I thought, could be a team to watch maybe. But Dyersville Beckman, they finished 10th overall against a really good field. But they had 4 wrestlers that finished 3rd or better and 2 finalists. And Connor Grover at 160 and then Owen Hundergarth at 195. Both got 2nd. But I thought, a nice core group of finishers there for the Blazers.
Right. It's good to see that what used to be youth movement up at Beckman now paying off. So they've got it rolling. That's good. So
Cedar Rapids Jefferson had 2 wrestlers that made the podium. Colin Woods was 4th at 220, and then Austin Clifton went 3-2 and got 6th at 138.
Yeah, good to see the Jayhawks putting someone on the stand. You bet.
So some positives there for them to build on moving forward. And then Belle Plaine, another area school that had 4 medalists, couple 4th places from Connor Tim and Chase Wickwire. Ethan Argo and Ethan Hamilton both got 5th. They were at 38, 52, Tim at 60, and Wickwire at 82. So, you know, that's a decent showing for Belle Plaine.
Yeah. The Belle Plaine is another team that's really also kind of had a resurgence. So that, you know, I throw the Belle Plaine and Benton community in kind of that same scenario. They're both headed in the right direction for sure. So,
one of the other tournaments, you know, that we saw here, Wapsie Valley, the Chris Davis Invitational. Nashville Plainfield came away with a team title there with 199.5 points over Central Springs. We had 159.5. North Lynn had 2 champions in Blaine. Baumgartner at 132, Landon Paul at 182. Anamosa freshman Austin Scranton, somebody keep an eye on. He won at 152 pounds. And then Tony Greavy from South Lynn won the 195-pound championship there. So some good individual performances from those teams.
I saw the Jeremy Folk Classic at New London. The Warriors, your school there, our school actually.
Yeah.
We both spent at least 3 years there. I know I spent 3 years there. I don't know how many you spent.
Yeah. Well, I think I was supposed to come back for a 5th, but they didn't want me. They're like, "Oh, you're good. Just go."
Yeah, but the Warriors came away with the victory, won the tournament. So had 3 champs and 5 runners up. Champs were Eric Renderneck at 145, Nick Foreman at 138, and Tate Sikora Mathis at 285. So good to see the Warriors doing well there.
Wow. So one other thing of news that I want to make sure we mention here, and it's not really good news per se. Mentioned some of the stolen results at the Cliff team, but it did not include Hayden Taylor, and of course found out today that Hayden Taylor won't wrestle this year, which is extremely unfortunate considering he was a 3-time state champion looking for his 4th. I'm just going to read this verbatim from a news release that was posted by media. One of my lifelong goals was to become a 4-time state champion, so to make the statement is very painful and surreal. To my family, friends, and the media who have supported me throughout my high school career, it is with great sadness that I must announce I am unable to wrestle my senior year due to multiple re-injuries since my surgery. I have decided to move forward, repair the injury with surgery, and focus on my future at the collegiate level. I want to thank everyone for your support over the years and know that I will be back hungrier than I have ever been and ready to fulfill my list of goals that I've set for the next chapter of my life once the doc clears me, of course. Hayden Taylor. So that's pretty unfortunate. You know, that elite group of 4-timers is hollowed ground pretty much, and to kind of, it's one thing to get beaten, but not to have the chance for whatever reason. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking actually, and I didn't see that coming. I mean, I guess I knew he was injured, but I was hoping that he'd have a chance. I mean, you're so close to your fourth title, And I've been watching Hayden since Kyle was in the club. Hayden was obviously a lot younger, but I'm going to miss seeing him out there. And I know he struggled last year with that injury and was still able to overcome. But that's tough. And then I'm also going to miss his mom, who's always on Matt's side with her camera and taking pictures. So such a good friend of wrestling, and I know that bothersome not only to Hayden but the family as well. So
sure. So that's a tough one there, but wish Hayden well as he goes forward, and hope for a quick recovery for him. Speaking of this week, we mentioned we're going to be at Cedar Falls, Cedar Rapids Prairie on Thursday. Any other duels or tournaments this weekend that really kind of stand out to you?
Well, I can tell you that the local lineup: Jefferson's at East, Waterloo West is at Kennedy, Wash is at City High, Xavier's at Hampstead, Wallert is at Linn-Mar, and Beckman and Marion will compete at Maquoketa on Thursday.
Okay.
Saturday, they kind of go everywhere in all different sorts of directions. So we'll have to kind of decide what direction we want to follow.
Well, I know I will be at Mount Vernon on Saturday. Last year, I got to cover the North Cedar Invitational. I think that's going on this weekend as well. Some good small class tournament there. I think Solon and Northland might be in the field there. At least they were last year, but that was a weekend where a lot of things got canceled, and some people were looking for places to compete, so that might have led them there. But
I see Jefferson is at North Cedar, and Marion and Xavier will be at Mount Vernon.
Okay. Well,
you got your choice.
Well, Mount Vernon, with Lisbon, I think there'll be some really good individuals. I think Wapsie Valley had come down there, and I know they've got a couple strong kids. You saw Drake Collins win at Independence. You've got Christian Stanek from Xavier. Hofer just made the finals at Cliff Keenan Independence as well. Then you have, I think it's Ronan Thomas. I think the younger brother of Ivan Thomas, Ronan. They're in the lower weights as well for Xavier. So it'll be interesting to see how they do at Mount Vernon. You got Jackson Jaspers from the Mustangs there in town. And I think Mount Vernon went to Newton for duels and maybe finished third there. So, Mount Vernon will have competitive kids at each weight.
I've watched Jackson's younger brother at some middle school. I've roughed him three different dates now. He's tough. He's got another one coming up too. So
I'm sure Vance Light and Aaron Truman like that coming down the pike as well. And yeah, this tournament's been fun. I know a couple times it's come down to like the very last match. I think with some of the West Liberty teams before in Lisbon. But I think Lisbon's a heavy favorite, so should be fun there. But do you have any referee assignments this weekend? Are you going anywhere?
I blocked it out because I wasn't sure if Kyle was he was indicating he might wrestle in the UNI Open, but he's not taking classes currently, but he went down to Florida to a workshop for a real estate. He's interested in real estate investment workshop. And he was down there for most of the last week and over the weekend, cut back on Monday. So he's not been able to work out. So I think he's not intending to wrestle. So that left me open. So,
okay.
So I'm not sure where I'm going. I might go up to Wartburg and watch their double duel up there.
All right. And like I said, I hope Dave Ryan has the popcorn ready for me, even though I'm not a big popcorn fan. But I plan to sidle up next to him. He does a great job announcing at Mount Vernon, one of the great wrestling supporters Mount Vernon supporter overall, him and his family. So look forward to seeing him this weekend and going on there to cover that.
Dave was doing the announcing at that middle school meet at Mount Vernon last week. And of course, his son is a middle schooler as well.
So, all right. Any final thoughts on anything we didn't touch on, Coach?
Big week. So it's going to be kind of a little bit of a breather this week. You know, it's still busy, but not with those big tournaments. Wow.
Right. Right. So we're in the thick of things for sure, and it's fun. It's good to be in that position. So, all right. Well, hey, as always, Coach Briggs, thanks for joining in. Thanks for watching the two of us discuss wrestling here in the area and across the state. Make sure to tune in next Wednesday again when we decide to break down this weekend's duels and look ahead to what's coming up for all the prep and college teams around. So thanks for watching. And Dick, do you want to keep the tradition alive here?
Yeah, let's keep wrestling on the move.
Thanks for watching, everybody.